It's 1966, and the Beatles have stolen the hearts of everyone, topping every music chart and selling out every stadium. It was very evident that the world could not get enough of them. But behind the scenes, fans and experts alike started noticing some odd differences with Paul McCartney and started wondering what was going on with the beloved Beatle, sparking a sinister rumor that, if true, would rip the fabric of the Beatles' fan base apart. Was Paul McCartney actually dead? It all started on a dark and rainy night in November 1966. Paul McCartney was driving through the English countryside when he lost control of his Aston Martin, skidding off the road and crashing into a stone wall. The impact was severe, and Paul was killed instantly, his body badly disfigured beyond recognition. The accident occurred very late at night, and by the time the authorities arrived, it was too late to save him. News of the crash was kept under wraps by the Beatles' management, fearing the devastating impact it would have on the band's future. The site of the accident was swiftly cleared, and Paul's body was discreetly handled to avoid public scrutiny. The cover-up went quite well, and no one suspected a thing until one rainy night in October 1969. A DJ named Russ Gibb was holding his radio show in Detroit when he received a mysterious call from a listener. The caller claimed that if you played the Beatles song Revolution 9 backwards, you would hear the words, "Turn Me On, Dead Man." Intrigued, Gibb played the track backward on air, and the listeners were stunned. But that was just the beginning. Soon, fans began to scrutinize every Beatles album, looking for hidden clues. And they found plenty, starting with the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover. Many believe this album is full of hidden messages about Paul's death. For instance, the cover features a floral arrangement that some interpret as spelling out Paul with a question mark. Above Paul's head, there's a hand raised, in which some cultures is a symbol of death. And then there's a bass guitar made of yellow flowers with only 3 strings, representing the remaining Beatles. Next, we have the iconic Abbey Road album cover. Fans have dissected this image countless times. The most popular interpretation is that it represents a funeral procession. John, dressed in white, symbolizes the preacher. Ringo, in black, is the undertaker. George, in denim, is the gravedigger. And Paul? He's barefoot, out of step, and holding a cigarette in his right hand, despite being left-handed, symbolizing the corpse. And if we take a look at the album Magical Mystery Tour, the song I Am the Walrus is said to contain hidden messages. The walrus is a symbol of death in some cultures, and John sings, I am the walrus. Furthermore, in Glass Onion, John sings, here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul, leading some to interpret this as a direct hint to Paul's death and replacement. But it doesn't stop there. The lyrics and audio of Beatles songs are believed to hold hidden messages. Take Revolution 9 from the White Album. When played backward, some hear the phrase, "Turn me on, dead man." And in Strawberry Fields Forever, there's a moment where John Lennon allegedly says, I buried Paul. Interestingly, but skeptical, after all, sometimes listeners will hear what they want to hear. But maybe we could find more evidence if we actually take a look at the actual person himself. Paul McCartney addressed these rumors many times, often with a sense of humor. In a 1969 interview with Life magazine, he said, "Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated." Was he just pulling a ruse and misdirecting the public? And that is where we all should have been looking the whole time. You see, conspiracy theorists point to perceived changes in Paul's appearance and voice as further evidence of the switch. Take a look at these photos of Paul before and after 1966. Some fans believe his facial features, height, and even his voice changed, while skeptics argue these differences are due to aging, changes in style, or evolving recording techniques. Believers are convinced these are telltale signs of an imposter. Maybe we have to then go back to the source of why Paul McCartney disappeared in the first place and dive into the supposed car crash itself. According to the theory, Paul was driving late at night, became distracted, and crashed. The injuries were so severe that the band and their management decided to cover it up to protect their careers. The Beatles' management held a look-alike contest and eventually found Billy Shears, a talented musician and look-alike, who stepped into Paul's shoes. However, feeling guilty about hiding the fact that their bandmate had died, they then allegedly left clues for fans to find, as a way to share the truth with their most dedicated followers. Believe it or not, throughout the years, John, George, and Ringo have all made cryptic statements that some believe hint at the conspiracy. In a 1974 interview, John said, "The Beatles were always a bit of a con." Was he referring to their musical experimentation or something more sinister? Was he hinting that the label had something to do with this, and that the Paul McCartney we all know today is actually an imposter? Knowing what the music industry is capable of when it comes to using bands and artists to control the media, maybe this conspiracy is not such a long shot anymore.